Welcome to Have You Read It, the channel where we bring books to life one summary at a time. Today we're diving into Jonathan Haidt's The Anxious Generation, how the great rewiring of childhood is causing an epidemic of mental illness. This book explores the alarming rise in anxiety, depression, and self-harm among young people born after 1995, a generation he terms Gen Z, and argues it's directly linked to a fundamental shift in childhood experiences. Haidt presents a compelling case, arguing that two significant trends have converged to create this mental health crisis: overprotection in the real world and underprotection in the virtual one. He paints a picture of children raised in a bubble, shielded from real-world risks and challenges, while simultaneously granted almost unlimited access to the often toxic environment of the internet, particularly through smartphones and social media. Part 1 throws us headfirst into the tidal wave of adolescent mental health issues since 2010. Haidt highlights the dramatic increase in anxiety, depression, and self-harm, particularly among girls. He backs this up with compelling data, showing how rates of these issues skyrocketed in the early 2010s, a trend observed across the Anglosphere and Nordic countries, suggesting a common global factor at play. He uses stark graphs and behavioral data like emergency room visits for self-harm and suicide rates to illustrate the severity of this crisis. This part ends with Haidt posing the central question: what happened to teens in the early 2010s? Part 2 explores the historical context, the decline of the play-based childhood. Haidt argues that human childhood, with its unique slow growth period, is an evolutionary adaptation for cultural learning. He emphasizes the critical role of free play in wiring a child's brain for social competence, emotional regulation, and resilience. He notes 3 key motivations in childhood: free play, attunement, and social learning. He highlights how free play teaches vital social skills like conflict resolution and turn-taking through low-stakes trial and error. Attunement, the synchronous interaction with caregivers and peers, is described as crucial for developing emotional self-regulation and forming healthy attachments. Lastly, he discusses social learning, emphasizing how children utilize conformist and prestige bias to learn and adapt to their culture. He argues that social media platforms can hijack this process, turning children's attention toward questionable influencers rather than local role models. He points to fearful and overprotective parenting, which intensified in the 1990s, as one factor contributing to the decline of free play and risky exploration. He describes the ideal environment for raising children as providing a secure base from which they can venture out and explore, returning for comfort and reassurance when needed. Overprotective parenting, he argues, disrupts this balance. He also discusses the concept of sensitive periods for development and how intense social media use during these critical periods, especially puberty, can have long-lasting impacts. Part 3 explores the heart of the matter: the Great Rewiring. Haidt argues that the rise of the phone-based childhood, characterized by near-constant interaction with internet-connected devices, has fundamentally disrupted child development. He identifies 4 foundational harms: social deprivation, sleep deprivation, attention fragmentation, and addiction. He dedicates a chapter to exploring why social media is particularly harmful to girls, citing increased social comparison, relational aggression, and greater susceptibility to social contagion and sexual predation. Then he turns his attention to boys, examining the long-term decline in male engagement with the real world, exacerbated by the allure of video games and pornography, often leading to social isolation and a sense of meaninglessness. Finally, he addresses the spiritual implications of constant phone use, arguing that it leads to a decline in shared sacredness, embodiment, stillness, self-transcendence, forgiveness, and awe in nature, practices essential for a flourishing life. Part 4 is a call to action. He frames the issue as a series of collective action problems, where individual actions, though seemingly rational, lead to negative outcomes for the entire group. He argues that collective action, through coordination, norms, technology, and laws, is essential for reversing the trends. He then lays out specific recommendations for governments, tech companies, schools, and parents. For governments and tech companies, he recommends asserting a legal duty of care toward minors, raising the age of internet adulthood, facilitating age verification, and encouraging phone-free schools. For schools, he advocates for phone-free environments, increased free play, and the implementation of programs like the Let Grow project, designed to foster independence and responsibility. He emphasizes that going phone-free and playful is more impactful than the standard approach of adding social-emotional learning programs. Lastly, for parents, he offers age-specific guidance on fostering real-world experiences, limiting screen time, using parental controls, and building playborehoods. He encourages parents to view themselves as gardeners, cultivating a space where children can flourish, rather than carpenters, trying to shape a predetermined outcome. He encourages parents to let go and allow children to take risks, because that's how they learn to be confident and capable. The book concludes with the main takeaway that the great rewiring of childhood has been a catastrophic experiment. Haidt stresses that we need to speak up about these issues and connect with others who share our concerns to reverse these damaging trends and bring childhood back to earth. Some heuristics to take away include delay, delay, delay. Postpone giving children smartphones for as long as possible. Prioritize real-world interactions. Encourage play, autonomy, and non-parental mentorship. Be a gardener, not a carpenter. Nurture a supportive environment, but let your children grow unpredictably. Reclaim time and space. Establish family rituals and create phone-free zones. Speak up and link up. Advocate for change and connect with like-minded parents, teachers, and communities. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss our next book dive.